you're using an AI tool, and that's a net positive, hopefully. Is that part of your marketing DNA? No. It's a tool that you're using, and it's good. Being an AI-enabled organization, I would say at a bare minimum, is where you need to be at this point. And there's different levels of AI-enabled. But the phrase I would most commonly associate with AI-enabled would be bolt-on. So that would include, all right, we use ChatGPT and we have some prompts. Or even we have a few agentic workflows that we've created natively. It could be in Claude. It could be, in another platform. They're an accessory rather than at the core of how your team functions. So AI first is quite literally making AI the central nervous system of your marketing engine. It is embedding AI at the core functionality of your go-to-market. If you took out AI, if your platforms ceased to exist from an AI standpoint, that your marketing functionality would be dramatically different.
Hello and welcome to CMO Convo. I'm Michal Lasman, a global marketing leader and your host in this podcast, where we interview senior leaders, emerging leaders in the field of marketing and talk about everything between marketing, revenue, AI, and go-to-market. Today I have with us Ben Brown, VP of Marketing at ReBiz. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Michal. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, 100%. How are you doing? All good?
I'm doing well. We are kicking off June, kicking off the unofficial start of summer, coming to you from California. So that's a big deal for us.
Yeah, well, so sounds like a lot of exciting things are about to happen. So Ben, thank you very much for being my guest in the podcast. Before we dive into today's topic, which is building an AI marketing engine, maybe you can tell us and the audience a bit about yourself, your background, and what you're focused in your role in ReBiz.
Yeah, absolutely. So I serve as VP of Marketing at ReBiz. ReBiz is a marketing and analytics platform that serves multi-unit retailers, spanning across verticals from wireless and mattress to jewelry and car wash and beyond. We are a layer of intelligence that opens the eyes of owners and operators to how to improve their business, to improve their sales team performance, to improve their operations, to enhance their compliance and risk management, and so on. We use a supervised AI approach, we can get into that later, to really enable multi-unit retailers to be effectively in their stores, every single store, 100% of the time. Prior to leading marketing at ReBiz, I've spent the better part of the decade leading marketing for AI-driven SaaS companies. I served as head of marketing for AI companies serving enterprise procurement teams, enterprise health systems, as well as some of the world's leading food service chains. So a lot of different industries, but the same basic marketing playbook applies. And the same conversation applies around AI, not just in terms of how AI has been serving my company's customers, but how AI has become an increasingly necessary force in creating the marketing engine. And we are now at a point where creating an AI native marketing engine is not only possible, but necessary to stay competitive in today's landscape.
Wow, that sounds super impressive. And it sounds as if you're very tech savvy as well, because I think that with AI, right, it simplifies a lot of things, but actually, if you have the background and the knowledge and you've been working in these type of companies, so you are much more robust. So I think that it's really lovely then having you even more as my guest. So I would love to ask you, there's a lot of talk about AI. I really think that ever since 2025, we've been just talking about AI, even 2024. What is the difference, in your opinion, between AI first to being AI enabled? And what is the distinction? Why is it matters for leaders in today's world to understand this differentiation?
No, it's a great question, Michal. Let me let me first address one item that you mentioned a minute ago, and that was me being tech savvy. One, thank you for the kind words. That is not a term I ever would have thought someone would have associated with me a couple of years ago, would be being tech savvy. For the record, I do not have a technical background. My background is in journalism and education, prior to, going into the marketing world. So I'm not a software engineer. I'm not a computer programmer, but I get to effectively write Python code and JSON scripts and so on through use of AI. And one of the first things I want to say to folks is that you don't need a technical background, and that
Mm-hmm.
the magic of AI is that it lowers the barrier to entry for just about anyone that wants to get into it. Now, actually using it effectively is what we're going to go into today, but
Mm-hmm.
to just not be intimidated by
Mm-hmm.
AI and just taking that first step.
I think this is beautiful, Ben, and I just want to chime in and say I come from literature and I'm a major, technological geek. And now I 100% agree with you because I'm also became like a tech savvy, but I'm not coming from any type of engineering background. I come from storytelling. And I think that this is also what's very unique in today's world, right? Because technological companies, on the one hand, yes, the AI is lowering the barrier so we can adopt also this technical aspect faster, but on the other hand we also need this ability of what you said, like journalism, and I'm time for storytelling. I mean, there is also a space for seeing that now we're seeing something that is much more unified in that. But thank you very much for mentioning that. I think that's very important for people to be not intimidated, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and you're touching on another really good point that we'll probably dive into in a few. But that's the importance of storytelling in marketing. That's what marketing
Mm-hmm.
is. It's
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah.
I I started out my career as a journalist, and telling that story is what's always driven me, and that's what ultimately brought me into the marketing world. Is how do you tell the story of an organization who has a life-changing product that they want to share with the world? And that's what I love doing, and being able to tell that story. And that is something that AI can only do to an extent, right? And where we're going to get into a phase where we're going to be talking about the human in the loop, and is AI going to replace everything? Like, no, it's not going to replace everything, because you need people to be able to tell the story and tell it in a way that comes from the heart and actually reaches people where they are and gives people what they need to hear in a way that only a person could tell. You're the conductor. AI might be, helping on the execution end of things, but my goodness, the storytelling component at its core is why we're all here. So I can now answer your original question about AI first
Yes.
versus AI
Let's do
enabled,
it.
if that's cool.
Yes,
Um,
let's do it.
yeah. Okay. So when it comes to building an AI first marketing engine, you've got a lot of terminology out there that is valid, but it's easy to get confused. What is an agentic workflow versus something else? People are misusing the term agent all the time. You have AI first and AI enabled. Let's start with AI enabled, because that is what is actually happening at the ground level at this stage at a lot of different organizations. And AI enabled is perfectly okay, especially if you're a company that's been around for years, decades, and you have been doing business a certain way, and all of a sudden AI came into the scene in 2021, and now it's just continuing to explode. And there's more and more things at your disposal. So AI enabled is basically bolt on systems where you are using AI to help increase efficiency, increase impact, what have you. An example of AI enabled could be, like we're using Jasper to, help us with our content creation, or we're using Writer to help us with our content creation. You're using an AI tool, and that's a net positive, hopefully. Is that part of your marketing DNA? No, it's a tool that you're using, and it's good. And being an AI-enabled organization, I would say at a bare minimum is where you need to be at this point. And there's different levels of AI-enabled, but the phrase I would most commonly associate with AI-enabled would be bolt-on. So that would include, all right, we use ChatGPT and we have some prompts. Or even we have a few agentic workflows that we've created natively. It could be in Claude, it could be, in another platform. But they're an accessory rather than at the core of how your team functions. So AI first is quite literally making AI the central nervous system of your marketing engine. It is embedding AI at the core functionality of your go-to-market, and that essentially, if you took out AI, if your platforms ceased to exist from an AI standpoint, that your marketing functionality would be dramatically different. So that would mean basically having like central reference docs that form the basis of your modus operandi in marketing, so that your brand narrative is hovering, in an MD file and in a set of skills, and that is powering your content creation, which is layered in another set of MD files talking about your content strategy and how you put together different assets and so on, and that your marketing operations are embedded in agentic workflows. It's one thing to have HubSpot, running lead routing. It's a completely different way of operating, where native AI workflows direct HubSpot in what to do. So AI first, DNA, AI enabled, bolt on.
I love it. Thank you so much for simplifying that. Yeah, thank you. So, talking about the stack, because you also mentioned it, I mean, really, when it comes to platforms, the options feels as if it's endless. So, what does an effective AI first marketing tech stack look like? And equally important, what should marketers be cautious about or avoid?
Yeah. So I've gotten this question a lot, and it is such a common topic in a lot of the CMO communities I'm a part of, and including CMO Alliance, of course, which is, what are the platforms that we need as marketing leaders and as marketing departments to utilize as either an AI first or an AI enabled team? My answer is rather minimalistic. I like to consolidate platforms as much as possible. And if I was to name just one right now, I would say Claude. That is what I am using to build my AI first marketing engine. Michal, I'm seeing a nice smile from you if you want to weigh in
Gotta
right
love
now.
Claude, right? Gotta love Claude. I think that Claude became everyone's best friend. I mean, really kudos to Anthropic, right? Because what they created, I think, changed the life of many people. So I see now that, Claude it's not even on the adoption rate. It's just that Claude is the go-to tool, right? And it's connect also to everything. So I'm not here to sell Claude. I do not work in Anthropic, but I do believe that a lot of marketeers share the same perspective as you. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do not work for Anthropic. I am not an affiliate
Yeah.
either.
Maybe we
So
should
yeah,
become ambassadors.
yeah, right.
I'm
I think there are a
kidding.
lot. Well, that will probably be a very long list of folks that can do that.
Yeah.
I would think of Claude as, if you're looking, if you're running errands and you're shopping, like, Claude is the Amazon or the Costco of your, like, list, because you go there and that takes care of virtually everything on your to-do list. It is almost a one-stop shop, where if you know how to use platforms like Claude or, ChatGPT or Gemini, maybe Microsoft Copilots, to the extent that they can be used, you don't need to go too many other places. And I have found that a lot of the other tools out there are effectively, packages for different niches within Claude or ChatGPT that would be easily solved with just, basic AI training, basic prompt engineering, basic workflow setup. And that if you can use Claude and create skills and create that necessary, like, operating structure, then you're not going to have to use a lot of these, like, niche plugin tools that can get very, very expensive, either individually or especially adding up. So I would absolutely say Claude is a foundation. It is the tool I've seen in like every community I've been a part of. It's super user friendly. Getting it set up has even become a lot easier. Like getting Claude code set up in your system was once a very large obstacle, even a couple months ago. But I just set it up in a matter of minutes in the last work computer I installed. So I would, yeah, I would say keep things simple. And when in doubt, right, it's a build versus buy. Like, do you have the time to upskill yourself? I would argue yes, because if you don't, then, well, the long-term implications of your skill set as a marketing leader could be quite limited. But if you're really constrained and you need to ship now, then yeah, some of those bolt-on tools could sustain you for the time being. But the ultimate goal should be to consolidate your tech stack and to really have a team and a leader yourself that can effectively use these tools.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the input, and I'm sure that our audience appreciate it. But let's talk a bit also about laying the foundation. So let's say now there's a marketing team, they're just starting from scratch. And I don't know if you believe it or not, but yes, some marketing teams are just laying out now the infrastructure for AI adoption. So it's not as if everyone is already, ahead of the curve or at maximal type of adoption. So I would love to ask you, where should they begin? What are the foundational assets and skills that needs to be in place before you can realistically start operating at scale with AI?
Yeah, yeah. The way that I want to clarify what we're talking about when we're talking about skills. For those who aren't as familiar with Claude, you create these things in Claude called skills. You are training Claude to perform certain tasks to a certain standard that is custom tailored to your and your company's needs. So when we're talking about skills, yes, you want to have your own personal skills and how to use Claude and AI and all this other stuff. But the skills are quite literally files. They're essentially just plain text files that instructs Claude on how to do things. So just clarifying the terminology there. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of getting set up and the architecture of your AI first marketing engine, from an existential standpoint, it's no different than how you would set up the marketing infrastructure for a company that was around before 2020. What
Mm-hmm.
is it that you need to know about the company in order to get your marketing engine set up? You want to understand your brand narrative. What does the company do? What is the value proposition? What is the ICP? How do all of these dots connect to one another? And getting that groundwork laid out is the most important thing. And with the age of AI, it's easier to do that than ever, but it doesn't mean it's any less essential. So that means speaking with all of the necessary stakeholders, both internal, external, company leadership, boots on the ground, talk to your sales team. What are they seeing in the field? Talk to CS. What are customers saying? Talk to
Mm-hmm.
customers themselves. That is so important to understand everything about the company, the products you're selling, and the story that ties it all together. What are company sorry, what are customers seeing in your company that stands out? And all of that information funnels down into a central brand narrative. This can be a super long document that will be always on and always used with AI. It's like it is the nucleus of your AI first marketing engine. It's a text file, right?
Yeah.
It's not technical. It involves distilling a ton of transcripts and a ton of your own personal notes and other collateral and pre-existing assets into, the Bible of your company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having that at the core is just so important. And then from there, what are some of the other skills that you're going to be training? How does your company present itself publicly? What is your voice? What is your written style? What is your visual style? If you're thinking of all of the things that marketing does on a regular basis, and it just funnels down into like just more and more broad elements. In other words, okay, if we're going to write anything, whether it's a single email, an email campaign, copy for a LinkedIn ad, an organic social media post, a 40-page white paper, all of it is going to have to feel like your brand. So being able to have that style guide, that skill, it used to be more of an accessory, sort of a nice to have and like a vanity asset that companies would send out to freelance writers that would never be looked at. Now it's an always on skill that is referenced by an entity like Claude to be able to create any kind of content for you. So that's on the written component. And then you have a visual guide. So, all right, if we're going to be doing graphic design, which you will, it could be an image for an ad. It could be an infographic, for a social post. It could be, a cover image for a blog post. It could be imagery for slide decks. It could be anything. You also want it to be consistent and to have that central guide where AI can help create that design. And is AI going to replace, your entire graphic design team? No, but it can get them, a good chunk of the way there so that they can put the finishing touches on things and spend a lot less time building things from scratch. So visual guide, absolutely. And when you combine all of these items, your content production, your storytelling can just operate at such a pace and a scale that it's never been able to do before. So, you've got your narrative, you've got a style guide, you've got a visual guide, and then thinking about every product that you sell, right? What is that product narrative, your product core messaging? And when you're running product marketing motions, right? That's everything. And that every product messaging doc is essentially your brand narrative from a product standpoint.
Yeah.
And it allows you to scale product marketing. I think that you're sensing a pattern here. The list is going on, but at the core, right? What does any tactic that you are running in marketing need to reference in order to operate? What do you personally think about when you are creating like a new campaign? What does it all go back to? And anything that would serve as that home base would be a skill that you would want to deeply train your LLM on in order to run. And the last thing I'll note on this is that these are not static documents. They
No, they're not.
change over time. Your company changes over time. The market changes. The tech changes. Competitors change and rise and fall. So these are ever evolving assets, and to be able to allow those assets to flow with your company is so essential. There is no set it and forget it when it comes to creating these foundational assets. You want to make sure that they are evolving at the same pace as the rest of your GTM.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you very much. So let's talk a bit about the change management, right? Because you opened that answer with kind of like, what do you need in order to set up a marketing foundation? You go back to the roots of marketing, let's be honest. But I think that there is a lot here to the psychological impact of AI, who is impacting people in many different ways, right? So we are seeing here, on the one hand, people that are kind of like with FOMO. On the other hand, we're seeing people that are a bit in resistance or a bit of like fear. So how can you support the team, or, for our listeners who are probably also handling these type of scenarios, how can one shift the marketing team's mindset towards AI? Because it is a bit of a challenge from the change management perspective. What advice can you give for leaders that are handling this currently?
Yeah, change management has been far and away the biggest obstacle for any customer that I've worked with any of the AI organizations I've served. So speaking about it, not just from an internal adoption standpoint on a marketing team, but I've been selling AI products for a long time now, and the biggest hurdle is not whether the product works or whether it adds value, is my team actually going to use this? And the answer that we very genuinely give to our customers is the same answer that I genuinely, honestly feel about internal adoption at any org using AI, which is AI is meant to be a tool that enhances your impact and your productivity. It is not a tool that aims to replace you. And that if you are in a position where AI can easily replace what you are doing, then that involves upskilling yourself in using AI to make you a better contributor, a better leader. So that first and foremost, that's the mindset to lead into. We could talk for ages about AI being a replacement, and CEOs and boards looking at AI as a way to decrease headcount. That's a conversation that a lot of people are having, not one to
Mhm.
necessarily have right now, though I'm very opinionated on it. Um, it's about framing it as a tool that is going to elevate impact and productivity, and making your team feel safe and secure first and foremost, so that they can then feel empowered to actually train themselves and adopt the tool. I can't stress that enough, that giving them that comfort and security, and having it come from a genuine, honest place is the most important thing. If there's any underlying motive, it's going to translate in your communication with them, and it's going to be picked up on. So if that's the case, well, you need to have some internal conversations. I'm not going to have them for you. So,
Yeah. Yes.
right, right. So, yeah. First, giving them that that security, that comfort, and then setting goals and timeline. Right. Look, very few people that have been in the workforce for some time have formal AI training, because there was no training for any kind of generative AI or agentic AI product when we were in school, right? This was just not a thing when I was getting my MBA. It wasn't on anyone's horizon. uh, so setting those goals and just having an understanding of, okay, we have we have ideal states on where we want to be. Let's think about the skills that we need to train ourselves on. And now when I'm saying skills, I'm actually talking about professional development, internal skills, not like Claude skill files, for how we can operate AI. So AI is a race car, and great drivers obviously need training on how to operate that race car. Let's do that. Let's go through that training. Let's do it together. And one, AI has made itself as easy to use as it can. So there's just a lot of natural language back and forth. YouTube is your friend as well. I've certainly used it. I continue to use it on a near daily basis for, little things that I want to tinker with. Community forums and threads. There are a lot of great consultants that I've worked with as well, that are great at training teams. And just understanding what is it that will best equip your team for success, and
Mhm.
giving them the mindset of not only comfort in having job security, but giving them the freedom to fail, the freedom to experiment, and the ability to share their successes and failures with the rest of the group, because we're all in this together and it's a learning process, and making sure that people know that this is a process.
Yeah.
This is not something that we're expected to learn overnight, but it is something that we're expected to learn and be accountable for in time. And that you have a rough plan in place on not necessarily the AI skills that you need to master, but that the AI outputs that you're looking to create are created, and that you have the mastery to scale that over time. I know that's sort of a backwards way of looking at it, but all right, this is what we want to accomplish, and here's how we can use AI to do it. So let's get this accomplished. And as a result of that, you are continuing to polish the skill set that's needed to accomplish those deliverables at scale.
Yes. 100% agree. Let's talk a bit about another buzzword or a phrase, which is the human in the loop. So, with so much focus on the automation, right? How important is it to keep humans in the loop, and where does human judgment remain non negotiable in an AI first marketing function?
Yeah, human in the loop. There are so many ties to the AI products that I have marketed and the adoption of AI internally, and human in the loop is absolutely one of them. So every customer that we have sold to, whether at ReBiz or elsewhere, has been a lot more at ease with the element of human in the loop. And for those who are still unaware of what human in the loop means, it's quite self-explanatory. It is having a physical person overseeing some, most, or all of the outputs that AI delivers, so that there is manual quality control in areas where it needs to take place to ensure reliable outputs, security, compliance, what have you. That human in a loop can take a lot of different forms. In a marketing sense, at the very, a very simple example would be AI AI drafts a blog post, and a human would look over that blog post and complete the copy edits before sending it to go live, as opposed to setting up an agentic workflow where AI drafts the post and publishes it without anyone looking at it. So it's a very easy argument. You probably want someone, making sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed before a piece of content with your brand's association goes live. There are obviously much more complex and high stakes entities where you want a human in the loop. So looking at ReBiz, we have something called supervised AI, which is a human in the loop, process where our AI will monitor, certain things going on inside the store, and it could flag something. It could be, potential theft, for example. Well, having a false positive could result in an unnecessary call to the police or even an unnecessary termination of an employee. And before flagging anything like this to a manager of a store, will have a person look through this footage to make sure that, yes, what AI saw is in fact true or not. And by taking that bit of effort, it really helps eliminate a lot of very consequential false positives. So human in the loop is big. Going back to marketing, right? We talked about it at the top of this call, storytelling. And just the vision and the strategy behind your brand and the growth of your brand and where your brand needs to be to skate to where the puck is going in the market. It's very difficult for AI to create like a real marketing strategy, even when it's fed all of the, intel around competitors and, market reports and things like that. It doesn't have eyes and ears in a way that a person does, and it can't make those creative judgment calls in a way that a person can do. So to have the human in the loop, that also includes starting the loop. It includes, triggering the loop to actually take place. So you want a person not only for quality control when it comes to your content, your budget spend, everything like that. Like, you need a person to tell the story and to be the conductor and to captain the ship, whatever metaphor you want to use. Like, for an AI first marketing team, that does not mean an AI only marketing team. You need someone to have that vision and to tell that story. You're seeing a couple brands, right, that are running AI only marketing teams. And okay, look, not everyone has the budget for the marketing team. And if it's AI or nothing, okay, like take AI. But what AI does is it gathers information based on its data set, and there's no net new information. And AI has a default way of doing things. So it's really easy to pinpoint like a website that was made entirely by AI. We can get into what those red flags look like. But in the same way that people have gotten very tired of content that is full of M dashes and it's not X, it's Y sentence structure and really short, choppy sentences, like we can tell what completely AI generated content or AI slop looks like. So that human in the loop element is what separates your go to market from AI slop. And if people don't take that seriously, then it's going to be very hard to grow or even sustain yourself as a viable brand.
Couldn't agree more. Ben, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for the insights that you've shared with us, with the knowledge, with your expertise and your point of view. I think that it's been a wonderful journey. I will even call it a journey throughout this conversation. So I really, really appreciate this call, and I'm sure that also our audience will very much appreciate it. So with that in mind, thank you so much for being my guest. And I will be, very keen to maybe have you as a guest again. Let's see, what's happened 6 months from now with our dear friend Claude.
Yeah, this conversation would have been entirely different even 6 months ago. Dare I say, even 6 weeks ago. It's evolving.
100%.
It's evolving at such a crazy rate. And I think that one of the most important things to do is just to as a marketing leader, that to keep in touch with where AI is going, how it can be applied, but to not feel pressured to do everything. Stick to your guns. The essential elements of a successful marketing function have not changed in the age of AI. It's just how they use AI to operate at scale. So I would, that's what I've been keeping in mind, and that allows me to continue telling the story. And Michal, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of CMO Convo. For more content like this, check the recommended videos on your screen now. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a thing.